I'm Michelle, and we're going to talk about how I and you can use mindfulness, compassion, and connection to find your inner calm and a little more sanity in your parenting. Hi, I'm Michelle, and today we're going to be talking about summer childcare and the stressors and what gets difficult about that and what we can do to support ourselves. I help parents who want to parent peacefully, to foster strong relationships with their children, and at times find it really hard. When my kids were small, I found myself so overwhelmed and burnt out. Not only did I struggle with responding peacefully or playfully, but I got caught in an awful yelling pattern, followed by overwhelming shame because yelling was the last thing that I wanted to do. Now, let's talk about how I and you can use the science of mindfulness and self compassion to find your inner calm and a little more sanity in your parenting. So, I want you to take a moment before we begin to think about a parenting win, some positive moment with one of your kiddos, or something that you did that was a little, that you're proud of yourself for, that you're happy with how you handled the situation. You could even take it a step farther and think, is there anything about this that was replicatable that I could do this again? And it might have just been you looked over and you saw your child laughing or smiling. Any kind of positive moment or parenting win that comes to mind. So let's talk about summer childcare. I don't know about you all, but for me, there were years of times that I spent getting anxiety in January and February thinking about how am I going to figure out summer childcare? What are my kids going to do? Or who's going to babysit them? Are they going to go to camps? Which camps are they going to go to? Which camps are their friends going to? Then talking to other parents and then being ready to sign up when it was time to sign up. It just so much mental gymnastics and exhaustion that it caused me to, not look forward to the summer just because the summer childcare could be stressful. Thankfully, it's gotten easier, but it's not always been this way. So let's talk about what can be hard about this. First off, just all those things I labeled, just mentioned. Sometimes the cost of the summer childcare, that can be challenging. It can also be challenging once we finally get to summer and our kids don't want to go to camp. They're afraid at drop off. It's a new place, new people, and they don't want to go. Or you pick them up and they tell you how terrible it was. Oh my gosh, this is rough. This is really rough. And it is totally reasonable that this might be one of those situations that pulls you into that negative reactive pattern that you're so working so hard to try to avoid. So let's talk about what might hook you or pull you into reactivity and just think for yourself about this topic. Like, what, if anything, is stressful or difficult about it for you? Are you like me, where there was already some stress built up from the months leading up to summer? Maybe it's difficult to manage the schedule change, so you're already kind of stressed about that. Those factors matter, right? The context matters. And then your kiddo says, I don't want to go to that camp. Is that triggering for you? They say, maybe they don't say anything until the morning of, and then they don't want to get in the car, or they don't want to get dressed, or they don't want to get out of bed because they don't want to go to this new camp. It is helpful to be thoughtful of, I find it helpful to put myself in my kids' shoes. So I think about, okay, would I want to go to a place I don't know the adults, that I don't know what they're going to be doing, that it feels strange and foreign? No, that would be uncomfortable. So it does help for me to put myself in their shoes. That helps slow down my reactivity. But just notice what specific things might your child say or do that would pull you into that reactivity. And what do you do when this happens? So maybe, there's the best case scenario. You patiently listen and you are supportive and you are, listen with compassion and understanding. And if that's what you're able to do, awesome, celebrate that win. And if you are like me and you struggle sometimes, like that's your goal, that's your intention. But sometimes because you're stressed, you're frustrated, you're overwhelmed, you find that to be difficult, which is totally reasonable. So just notice, what are your thoughts around this? Maybe it's, oh my gosh, how am I going to get my kid to go there? I paid a lot of money for this. What am I going to do if I can't get them in the car? The sometimes our reactivity is because we feel additional pressure. Like, how am I going to get to work if I can't get my kid in the car? Or maybe we have to be on time. So the time crunch is a pressure. That was one of the things that parents mentioned again and again in my interviews when I was interviewing people for the content for Yelling to Connecting, and what parents really needed was time crunches. Like, this is a real stressor for us as parents. One parent put it really well. They said, there's like different competing expectations. There's the expectation of me being supportive to my child, but then there's the expectation of being on time to the camp, or there's the expectation of me being on time to work. So there's like this ripple effect. So sometimes it's competing expectations. All of these things are perfectly normal. Maybe even just check in with yourself right now and notice what's happening in your body as you're listening to me. Like, I'm noticing in my body that I feel tightness in my chest. I feel kind of like amped up, and it's uncomfortable. It doesn't feel comfortable in my body. So, it might be helpful to make a plan, to think about, what do I need to set myself up for success? Well, for me, it helps to know the context. Like, yes, I am stressed, and just knowing that I'm stressed helps me take it a little bit easier on myself. So consider that for yourself. It might be, if I didn't get enough sleep, okay, I'm going to have a little bit harder time because I'm not well rested. Or do I need more time in the morning because I know that my kiddo has trouble trying new things. So maybe I'm going to, instead of giving myself a half an hour, I'm going to give myself 45 minutes and kind of bake in time for them to have a little bit of a hard time. You could also, I mean, this is difficult if there's multiple different camps that they're going to, but you could take them to the camp ahead of time. You might not be able to meet anybody, but just even being at the location and saying, like, oh, this is where you're going to be going. And if it's possible, you could play there, like if there's like a playground or something, because then there's like a positive association and you're giving them a little bit of support around what might be difficult. And you can also play with them around this, similar to what you would do like at the start of a school year. So you could play mean camp counselor and be really silly and goofy and just be the meanest camp counselor, or you could be the scared new kid and your kiddo could be the camp counselor. And maybe they're nice, maybe they're mean, who knows what kind of camp counselor they could be. Or you could play that you're there at camp, but you don't know how to do anything. So you walk up to a door and you just walk into it because you don't know how to walk through it. You're just being silly and ridiculous. And the laughter is a way to help kids offload stress. So these are things that you can do proactively that might help in a situation around doing a new camp, trying something new. So think for yourself, what is your kiddo possibly struggle with, and how could you support them in a way that also works for you? If it's not feasible for you, it's probably not going to work, right? Another idea that I really love is, oh, let me count all the hairs on your head, and let me count your fingers and toes, and let me count all your moles and make sure they're all there. And when I pick you up, I'm going to count them all again. And this is really nice because, one, it's fun and silly, and two, it's affectionate. You're like touching their hair and counting how many millions of hairs they have. And then when you pick them up, you're doing the same thing. It's playful and you're reconnecting. So that's a nice game to play around anytime you have to have any sort of separation with your kids, but especially in the summer if they're doing different camps, that can be a fun thing to do. So I'd love to hear some of your all's ideas and yeah, what you do to help support you when you're dropping your kids off to camp in the summer. And I want to let you know I'm going to be doing a free webinar in mid-August. So look for that on my website and you can sign up and join me live. I'd love to see you there. Have a great day. Bye bye. I almost forgot. Before you go, I have a free gift for you, the guided audio pause and regroup, a free guided audio pause for when you're about to lose it or have just lost it with your kids and you need a moment to regroup. You can pop me in your ears and I will walk you through those difficult, challenging moments. You can find the audio download in the links or at compassionateheartmindfullife.com. A reminder, this content is intended for educational purposes only and should not be used as a replacement for private psychotherapy services. Compassionate Heart Mindful Life does not provide psychotherapy services in any capacity. I am a therapist, but I'm not your therapist, and this is not therapy and should not be a substitute for mental health treatment. If you need mental health treatment, please find a qualified professional in your area. Thanks again for listening. Bye-bye.